powerhouses of the global corporate stage. I am so excited for this guest today because we are global. Yes, we are all the way in Spain today. We are welcoming this powerhouse. I'm so excited for you all to get to hear her amazing story of being a corporate inspiration. Welcome to the stage. Can you introduce yourself to our amazing listeners today?
Well, thanks so much for having me. So, yes, hello from Spain. I'm like, you know, I'm going to live up to every cliche, but you probably noticed that I'm not Spanish. I'm from Germany originally, and but I'm one of those Germans who kind of doesn't like it at home. So I grew up in East Germany and left East Germany or left Germany in 1994. So I've lived in Australia and the UK until 20 years ago. I decided to ditch it all and pack up and move to sunny Spain. And literally every move I made came with a career change. So
Oh my gosh,
so I
wait.
think
I
that's kind
didn't
of stuff
know
we're
you
gonna do.
lived in Australia and
Yep, yep.
Journey. Oh wow,
In
this
the
is
UK as well. Yeah.
amazing.
So Germany, East Germany started out in East Germany, then in West Germany, then in Australia 5 years, 5 years in the UK, and for the last 20 years I've been in Spain. And yeah, so there's
Oh,
literally it kind of almost goes hand in hand with with professional pivots as well. So I kind of like
oh my
to do it all at
gosh.
once.
Okay, y'all. We have a professional pivot on the line. She went
The pivot
from
queen, they call me.
So if you want to know, like, how can you move with your career and not only cross country, she crossed continents. She's been on several different continents. Like, this is the best place to be. Wow, I thank you so much. I had no idea when we talked, like, that you've done that. So thank you for inspiring me. That's why I love like doing these real and raw conversations. This is so cool.
Yeah, and I think that's really why where like you see I'm sort of thinking, oh my God, what am I doing on the Powerhouses of Global Corporate Stages podcast? I've not been in corporate for 20 years, but I think that piece of not putting up with an okay job, like that's really dear to my heart, and that is relevant to anybody who, whether you've got your own business and it's getting a little stale, or whether you stuck in a corporate and I've started out in corporate. So and there was a reason for the pivots, and there was a reason to jump off it, so but I think that piece, and I think the thing that really breaks my heart is I have an ex-colleague who's who's been who I've been in touch with for the last 20 years, right? And he said to me when I left, when I said like, hey, I'm quitting my job, I'm gonna, I quit a job in software development to go to Spain and make flamenco dresses, right? He goes, oh my God, that's crazy. I wish I could do what you're doing, right? And I said to him then, it's like, why can't you? And well, and there was kids, and there was this, and there was that, and literally to this day, every few years we're in touch, and every time he goes, oh, I keep watching you evolve, and I wish I could have done what you've done. 20 years later, there he is, still hating his job, like getting through life, and that's the thing that I would really that I'm really passionate about, because I'm like, life's too short for that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You said a ton. Wow. I had no idea. I'm like really, really excited to let people know more about you. Thank you all so much for those of you who all are tuning in. I have a true powerhouse, a woman whose career has evolved. She currently lives in Spain, but she has traveled the globe. She really is one of the powerhouses of the global corporate stage. I'm Lovely Marshall, your podcast host, and I was really excited to meet this individual because when we first connected, she was just telling me about her career, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, we have to get you on the stage. So, one of the first questions that I always ask people is, could you please tell us, like, what was your last job? And like, how did it compare to what your dream job was as a kid? Like for me, my dream job was to, I was going to be a nurse, I was going to be a doctor. And then what I ended up doing was working at Facebook and being a product manager. That was nothing like what I had. So I always love to hear about, like, how do people get started like in corporate? And then I know like you own your own business and stuff, but like from the corporate standpoint of you like leaving and going, like what was it that you dreamed of as a child versus what you ended up ultimately doing?
Well, what I dreamed of as a child, that's actually an interesting question. And I had thought about that, and I've actually I did a whole thing around that in my Facebook group once. So I was always the one who, well, there were two things I'm passionate about. And that was, well, three things: learning how to do something, making stuff, right? So I was always like, oh, I have an idea. I want to, like, well, sew my own clothes or like make a jumper. It's like, oh my god, then I go off and learn and figure out how that's done, and then I get good at it, and I just love the process of creation, that thing of like, oh, I have an idea, and now I'm going to figure out, and now I'm going to make it happen, right? And once I've got that, then I go teach, right? So I've always seen myself a writer, a teacher, and a maker, you know. And yeah, the professional career took a while to get there. Well, there's always been at least one element of it, you know. So I finished uni as a like, you know, I went to uni to study languages. So I was a language teacher and finished as a translator. So there was the
So can you
there
tell
was
us
that
what
bit.
does uni mean? Because in the United States,
University,
I think it, yeah,
university.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Good one. Never even thought of that. Yeah, so that's my university degree is in translation, right? So the
Okay.
writing
But you
piece,
all
you know,
call it in Spain, you call it uni?
in Spain, I have no idea what they call it.
Well, so where does the uni come from? Like from Germany?
It be coming from, I would imagine, like definitely from Germany.
Germany. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know now. I don't know now whether it's an Australian or English thing as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really
Because
don't
we say
know.
colleges here. Like we say, what
Yeah.
colleges are you going to? But I like how
Oh,
you say
yeah,
the
that's
uni is for
interesting.
university. Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah, that's
See, this
funny.
is
I
this
never
is
even
what
thought of that.
happens
Like, I
when
love
you
this.
have different cultures connect. Like this is so amazing. So you all call it uni. Okay, yeah, we say
Yeah.
colleges. Like what college are you going to? What's your life after college? So
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, that's
cool.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I never even thought of that. Yeah. Yeah. So, but bottom line, you know, there was always sort of the writing bit and the creativity was in, but more. And then I stumbled into software development, which actually brought quite a few of those things together. You know, this idea like, oh, somebody has an idea. Now we have to figure out how to make a tool that helps them make this process either. There were always sort of workflow kind of applications. And so that actually had a lot of the elements, right? And yeah, so my own business, the dressmaking, definitely had a lot of them. And what I do now, where I'm helping other people turn a passion into a business, it has it all. So I'm like totally in my element now. But it's, you know, I really notice along every time there's a pivot, I was looking for another part that hadn't gotten to play. Like sometimes the creativity was left out a little bit, right? And sometimes there was plenty of creativity, but it wasn't intellectually stimulating enough. So there would always, it's exciting for a while. And when the learning curve flattens, then you notice, something's missing, right? And I think I really found for me personally, until I found a way to bring all of it in, there was always a sense of seeking. And that's finally kind of
Mm,
settled. But I have
I
to, you know, like
like
I need to sort of feel that sense that I can play on all fronts.
Yeah, no, I like that you said that sense of sort of seeking. And it was nice to hear you say that you had to play different things. And that's why this podcast was created. Like everyone sort of plays a role. So it's a stage that we're all a part of. Everyone's story, their journey is so unique. And for you to recognize that and go through various pivots, like I really kudos to you because too many people they're in jobs that they don't necessarily use all of them all at once, but it's so freeing to know that you can take the time to move and like pivot and to do it. So I know it's not easy. I know for myself, like when I went from healthcare to going to Facebook, it was not easy at all. Like, what was sort of the driving factor that made you be willing to do like your first pivot? And what was something that you didn't had to expect, like that came up as a challenge?
Yeah, no, the first biggest challenge was literally when I moved to Australia, right? And so there I was, like fairly freshly graduated. I graduated from college, university. And so I'd had one job, like in one company where I got to do my translation thing. And I met an Australian there. So I married an Australian and off we went to Australia. And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. Sydney is really multicultural. Like it's going to be heaven for a translator, right? Well, boy, was that wrong. Like, first of all, I got there and it turns out that, yeah, jobs that somehow required or appreciated language skills were pretty rare. And if they're there, they're so badly paid it isn't funny, right? So, and it took me a long time to find a job. I mean, what felt like a long time because everybody was always like, oh, so what's your experience? And I'm like, well, I have a university degree. And they're, well, we don't care. That's overseas. And I'm like, okay, what's your work experience? Well, I've worked in this, like, but that's overseas. We don't care. What have you done here? And I'm like, I just got here. So it was really hard for anybody to even hire me at all. Then you had translation agencies who'd say, oh, yeah, we can put you on the list. But I've worked in one. I know how this works, right? So they put you in a list. And then, yeah, maybe we call you one day for a translation job and we'll promise we'll pay you within the year. So okay, well, that wasn't gonna. Eventually I found a job in a translation agency, and I knew within weeks. It's still to this day, I think this was the most stressful and worst paid job I ever had. And I knew within weeks, I'm like, I'm not gonna last here. Like, this isn't going anywhere. I've got to get out here. This is just not working. So I literally sent it wasn't because I wanted to, oh, this isn't, like, I was literally, I will not last here. And so I sent out my resume to anybody who'd have it, which wasn't a lot of people. Right? So it was literally this lucky, and I think you do need a bit of a lucky break if you need somebody who can go beyond the have you done this before. Most people who hire play it safe and all they're interested in have you done the thing before. That makes the pivot hard because you always need to find somebody who can see the capacity when you haven't got anything tangible to prove it yet. And most people will not take the risk. And I was lucky at some point that a recruitment guy goes, hey, I've got a job for you. I've got a friend who runs a software company and he's looking for somebody and you are going to get on with like a house on fire. And we did.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's just so much that you said there. Number one, when you first talked about the challenges of being in a new country, even though you have the experience, I have heard so many incredible people say that, particularly Nigerians and Southeast Asians, they say like when they move to America, because they have a degree, like they're doctors in their country. And then when they get to America, America's like, I don't care. Like, what have you done here? And I always thought, like, wow, like that sucks. But hearing you say that again, like that really just clicked that this isn't just an America challenge. This is all over. Like they want you, but you must demonstrate that you can thrive in that country. Wow.
I think most of the time, the people who are sitting there saying that, they're not thinking about you at all. Like they're thinking about their own job. Like they want it safe. Right? They don't want to, like, nobody wants to be responsible for hiring somebody who isn't working out, right? So they want to be safe. So they're going to go for somebody, well, okay, they've done the same thing in another company. So, And I would like, the funny thing is, me, good old pivot queen, I'd always like, when people say, hey, have you done this before? I'm like, well, of course not. Why would I want the job? Right? It's like, if I've done this before, and and the idea that length of time isn't really a measure of quality. I've know a lot of people who've been in a job for a long time and still no good at all. So it's not, but it's still the safest thing people often think they have. So I don't think they necessarily sit there thinking about whether you have a chance in this country or not. Like, I don't think they think that far. All they think about is like, I don't want to be at fault if this person isn't working out here. So I'm going to use the safest measures that I know of, and which is usually, okay, past experience.
Wow. Wow. That is incredible. I am really, really excited that you are on here and really just sharing some of these barriers that become obstacles to people's career. And I think what I love about your story is that you didn't give up. So, like you said, it's not necessarily about you. So, those of you all who are listening in, thank you so much for tuning into the powerhouses of the global corporate stage. But recognizing our powerhouse that has moved from Germany to Australia to Spain, that when you are coming and you are met with obstacles, do not give up. Many people are met with obstacles. And so I hope that you all are still encouraged to know, like, to push through it, being able to hear her story and how she's like just continued to grow and thrive. And if you have met like with these challenges, I would love to have you on the show for you to be able to see like how you've navigated working in corporate, whether it's corporate America, corporate Spain, corporate Australia, corporate Singapore. Like, we would love to have you all on. So, my next question to you is, how has LinkedIn accelerated your career and or your business?
Well, LinkedIn is a platform, that makes it easy to meet people, right? And in my experience, it like across the board, all good things happen through people I know. It always works like that. If I'm thinking of back of to my software days, I don't know. Well, arriving in a country, you may be sending out a resume, but then after that, it's like, hey, I did you hear they're running a new project over there? I'll send you an introduction, right? So it's like that. That's how this works. That's how and it's now like most clients come somehow, oh, so and so told me about you. It's about trust. It's about trust. That's what it comes down to. So LinkedIn is crucial, I think.
I love that. I love that. And to let you all know, her and I met through LinkedIn. Shout out to Lonnie. Lonnie, we love you.
We
There
do.
was a young lady who we connected with. I connect with her on LinkedIn too because I love her writings. LinkedIn suggests that we connected. Like me and Lonnie, it suggested that I connect with her. Don't know why, but I'm so grateful that I connected with this incredible woman. And then Lonnie and I were talking, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I got this incredible woman. You two have to meet." And we were on the call, and I was like, "Please, could you please join my podcast? Like, listening to your story, it's so phenomenal. Like, people need to hear it." So, I believe for me, LinkedIn has truly transformed my career. I went to college, but did not get a college degree or university degree. Do you all call it degrees? You call it
Yep.
degrees? Okay, cool. And then when I was leaving, LinkedIn had just like boomed in 2010. It was like a really great opportunity for you to grow. I remember Jeff Weiner, like he would like post like daily updates and stuff. Like if you were highlighted on his post, it was like the new Twitter, but for professionals. And to be like on LinkedIn now today, That is so crucial. Like you said, like people know, like, and trust you. If it is able to say, like, okay, you're connected to Lonnie, and then Lonnie's connected to these people, by default, I have to trust Lovely. So I am so, so grateful that LinkedIn has been a platform that not only transformed both of our careers, but I think also our businesses are continuing to thrive for LinkedIn. And so if you all are not on LinkedIn, please get on there because it really is a great platform, especially for those people. If you are looking to move to another country, you can look up and filter all of the people who are in Spain that might be within your area and who has your job that are like software engineers or authors. And you can connect with them based off of LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn really lowers the barriers for you to be able to connect with people. So I am so grateful to all of the people who created LinkedIn, who are continued to update it and listening to our conversations, because LinkedIn is really, really a great platform. And I'm so grateful that it helped you to bring your career and thrive as well.
Just don't start there when you need a job, right? I think that's
Yes.
the piece that people often, oh, I like when you need to start building that network and that those trusted
Mhm.
connections like before you need something, because otherwise it's going to get really awkward really quickly.
Before you need something. Did you all hear that? Before you need it. Build the connections before you need it. Before you need the jobs, before the layoffs, before you need the clients. You should be gathering a mastermind community. Yes. You said that so perfectly. I love that. I love that. So, my next question for you is, what advice would you give to expiring corporate professionals if they're just starting out today, looking to pivot? Like, what advice would you give to them?
I think the first thing is to be on a regular basis, I'd say on a regular basis to take, whatever time you need, but to actually get really clear on what you really want. Because it's so easy to get sucked into that. Oh, well, this was what I was kind of expected to study. Then you take the job that was kind of obvious. And before you know it, you're 20 years in a career that is, if you're almost like, if you're unlucky, it's kind of okay, because you know how you always say it's like good is the enemy of great. I think if it's really horrible or you can't get a job, you're like, that's kind of lucky in a sense because it'll make you move. But if it's kind of okay but really not satisfying, then you can easily get yourself in a stuck position. But I think most of the time, I mean, I certainly didn't grow up with, especially think about like, in East Germany, like you didn't grow up thinking about, so what do you really want to do? It was almost like, okay, this is the line, this is what you expected to do. So I don't even, I was embarrassingly old when I, for the first time, thought what I really wanted in my life. Like literally what you're saying earlier, like what is it that really lights you up? Like what is it that you really want to do? And I think that's a question that if you're smart, you ask yourself that very early and very often to make sure, because then you know how it's like, once you decide to buy a yellow car, like you see them everywhere. It's like when you know what you're actually trying to create for yourself, you'll notice opportunities when they actually cross your path and it gives you a chance to build it.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I think one of the best things that you said is ask yourself that early and ask yourself that often, because in America, I don't know if you know of the creator of Apple, Steve Jobs, and he has this incredible speech. I'll have to link it to this podcast. He has this incredible speech that he says, like, every Monday he asks himself, like, would I be wanting to do this for the rest of my life? And when too often that question is no, then that's when he makes a pivot and he's like, is this what can I do instead? And I think that that is so empowering. And I want this to be made for everyone that is listening, everyone who will listen to this. You are not just anything. You are not just a software engineer. You're not just a healthcare provider. You're not just anything. Like whatever your job title is, you are not just that. You can make pivots. You can be able to change. Like you can do so much. Don't feel like you are just anything. Like we said, our title for today is A Powerhouse Makes Pivots. You can make pivots. You can be this and this and this and that. Like, I hope that's what you get out of this. Like, because our incredible guest here today, she is a business owner and she's an author and she's a friend and she has lived in these amazing countries. So you can be so many things. Like, please don't allow people, but most of all yourself, don't put you in a box. Let's get you out of that box, burn the box, and like let's step into your greatness. So thank you so much for sharing.
And especially the what you just mentioned, I really want to kind of like underline, like the big red markers underline that is don't wait for other people to give you kind of permission, or to don't wait for the support of other people. Because, after a few pivots, I can tell you the pattern is really clear. Initially, everybody goes, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" Like, it's like, "Are you sure? Is this the right, like that?" I don't think that's a good idea. I've met this person, they tried this and it went horribly wrong. Like, don't do it. And when you do it, and when after you've basically done it, they'll go, "Oh, I always knew you'd pull that off." Right? So you don't need, like, people will usually give well-meaning advice, right? They don't they But again, it's about playing safe, it's about keeping you safe, and quite often it's about keeping themselves safe in relation to you. They don't want to lose the relationship, the dynamic of how you relate to each other. That happens in families, that happens with partners, happens with friends. So they often, their advice will be tinted by their own interest in the relationship. And sometimes it's just simply they can't even imagine what this would be like. Well, like, imagine, like, I was living in London, I was a software developer, and I resigned to move to Spain to make flamenco costumes, to make flamenco dresses. People thought I was crazy, right? So everybody goes, "Well, are you sure? Like, this is kind of nuts," right? And everybody after, "I always knew." And my parents were the ones who, like, "Well, you've got, like, it's a great career." And I'm like, "I know." And, and then when I pivoted away from the sewing business, they go, "Well, the sewing business was nice and safe," right? So it's like, you can't allow any of that influence. I would almost say, like, yeah, tune it out. Like, none of your business. Is like, you carve out your path, and the people who want to come along with you will, and the others don't matter.
Oh my gosh. She said something and the others don't matter. So one of the amazing people that I love, he mentioned that he said, don't listen to anyone to tell you something they haven't even attempted to do. Like a lot of people, they'll tell you, no, you can't do this. You can't move to another country. Like I was the exact same thing I
Watch
said
me.
last year. I was like, I'm going to quit my job at Facebook. I'm going to go on $100 million adventures. Like I've made Facebook so much money. It's time for me to build my own business. People were like, are you crazy? Like, you're making over $500,000. Why would you leave that safety net? And it was like, for me, when I looked at so many other people, I was like, oh, number one, let me just figure out, like you said, my passion. Like, let me figure out if is this all that I'm capable of? And then number two, if I have to come back, at least I can say that I did it. I did it. And I would have never, me talking to you, this would have never happened. If I was at Facebook right now, I could have never met you because I was focused only on Facebook. Right now, it's the most stressful season of our life because we're getting ready for next year. You know, as a software developer, Q4, it's the crazy time. You're getting ready for next year. You got to have all these updates, you have these requirements. So I wouldn't have even had time to meet you. And yes, it is scary, like, because I'm like, okay, what is going to be done? But it's been a great ride. It really has been.
Well, and I mean, like, also, what's the scary thing? Like, I would almost want to even question that, because it's only scary if you look at the unknown as something negative, right? Because if you think about a child, right, and they see Christmas is coming up and they don't know what they're getting, so there's the unknown, but they're not scared of that. Like, they assume it's going to be something good. So they look forward to it. So change doesn't
Can
have to
you
be
say that
scary.
one more time? Like, I need that to be repeated one more time. The people didn't hear you. Say that one more time. And for like kids who expect, say that one more time because I need to hear
Well,
that myself.
like uncertainty, change, something new, something you've never done before is only scary if you decide in your head that it's something negative. If you expect it to be something that's better than what you have, then you're just going to be excited about it. And that's your kid. Like, that's, I mean, like, that, even the first time I experienced it was when there was this idea of, oh, like, I want to get out of East Germany. I jumped into like a massive unknown. I had no idea what was on the other side, but I somehow assumed it was going to be better than what I had, so off we go. And if you look, a kid looks at Christmas and they don't know what they're going to get, but they're not scared. They look forward to it because somehow they assume, that it's going to be something they're going to love playing with and enjoy. So if you imagine that the unknown holds something that is an evolution, that's something more, something better, something more joyful than what you have now, like, there's nothing scary about it. And
Oh
I mean,
my
you're still
God.
alive, for God's sake. Like, you've handled a whole
Yes.
bunch of uncertainty until now,
Right.
so you've got the
I
track record.
love that. Thank you. I needed you to be on this. And it is, people say that it's scary a lot, but it's not. I am assuming and I'm expecting that things are going to be exceptional because it has been, it has definitely been so much better than I could have even imagined. So I'm so grateful for you stating that. As we talk about this, the next question is, what is your quote that you use for inspiration that has helped you navigate and make those pivots, or a quote maybe today that you are living by? For me, I share that one of my quotes is the fact of, Muhammad Ali said that even the greatest was once a beginner. So don't be afraid to take that first step. And that is what I am learning. That is what I'm doing. Like, I have this podcast and I'm not the greatest yet, but I'm taking the first steps. I'm learning how to, connect with you. We had to, have you rejoin again so you can add your channels. It's new and exciting things that I'm learning. And that is what's keeping me excited about the unexpected journeys ahead. So what about you?
Oh, I have so many quotes. I actually have a t-shirt shop for it. Because it was some that I have on t-shirts, but the one that really fits here, that I always say to clients and anybody who will listen, is, in case of doubt, try it out. It's the only way to find out.
In case of doubt, try it out. It's the only way to find out. I like that. I like that. Okay, so you got me with two quotes. Number one, you expect good things and then it's not scary. And then number two, in case of doubt, try it out. Oh, I like that.
And it
Try
was
it
even like, when
out.
I look
I
at
love
when I
that.
thought of moving to Spain, people was like, "Are you crazy?" And like,
Yeah.
did you not? And I'm like, look, I didn't really expect. I didn't even expect it to be a success. All I wanted
Yeah.
it out of my system. right? I
Yeah.
wanted to know. I had this thing like, oh, something was pulling me. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like walking to Spain. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to live here? And I'm like,
Yeah.
the only way to find out is to just go there and live
Try it
for a
out.
while,
Right.
because the only thing I always say, like, I will fear regret way more than failure.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
didn't care if
Mhm.
living in Spain wasn't what wouldn't have
Mhm.
been the thing. Well, okay,
Yeah.
fine, no big deal. At
Yeah.
least I have it out of my system, and I'm not going to sit
Yeah.
there at 80 wondering what life in Spain would have been like. That I
Oh,
don't want, right?
you
That kind
couldn't
of
do it.
sense of
Right.
regret,
Right.
because they
Right.
will having try it, and if I then decide, yeah, not for me, well, fine, but then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have it out of my system, and that's
Yeah.
worked well for me. I can highly recommend it.
I love that. I love that. Our final question for you today, before we ask a question for you to ask for our next guest, is how are you making a difference in someone else's life?
Well, I would like to think that I make a difference in my clients' lives who actually are on that path to kind of build the thing they really want to build, and just make them, you know, dodge the potholes so they have a smoother ride and get there and don't need quite as much grit as if they had to do it all by themselves. So, yeah, like my dogs.
I love that. I love that. I would say for me, my thing that I'm trying to make the biggest difference of is celebrating people.
Mm,
In our community, especially for entrepreneurs, we're all trying to get there. We're all trying to, have the best company and the best of this. But I have learned that by celebrating people, it has actually brought me more connections and more people being able to say, okay, you should connect with Lovely because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I talked to her and this was so amazing. And, just praising people, just like on their comments. Like if I see something of yours, I'm hearting it and I'm telling you, I'm so proud of you. And that has really helped me. I feel like make a difference in someone else's life because it's letting them know that I see them. But then when I need that same sort of like reassurance, then I get it back like 100% full. So
yeah.
I love the fact that our last guest asked us if she was a AT&T corporate inspiration. We have Australian, German, Spain inspiration, corporate inspiration here. So the question for you is then what question would you like our next guest who comes on the powerhouses of the global corporate stage, what question would you like them to be asked?
What motivates you? What really drives you?
What really drives you? I love that. What really drives you? So there you have it. For our next guest, it's what really drives you. Now, I want to thank you so much for coming on. How can people get a chance to get to meet you, y'all? She is in Spain. I'm so excited. I'm gonna have to like officially go there. Like the powerhouses of the global corporate stage went there, but like I now physically have to go to
Now
Spain.
you
How
have
can
to
people
come.
connect with you, meet you? Tell us like what's going on with you so that way others can be able to find you and be able to have a way of connecting with you.
Yeah. So you've got my name then there. So like I'm on LinkedIn. So that's a good place to connect. I also have a website. It's ankerherman.com. So that's easy to find as well. And if you love dogs, then I recommend you go to soultouchedbydogs.com and find out all the good things that we're doing there. So to, advocate for being kinder to animals so that we can actually become better people in the process. So that's like the big passion project. So if you're a dog lover, I would love to see you there. Other than that, LinkedIn is a great place to get started, to get to know each other.
Yes, yes, LinkedIn is the powerhouse. I love LinkedIn. I just I can't thank you enough. From learning about all of your career pivots, I had no idea. I felt empowered by the if you have a doubt, try it out. And just knowing that to expect good things. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
So much for
Connect
having
with
me.
her, you all, on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm so excited to celebrate every single person on this journey. If you are worried about, I want to move forward, I want to do these things, read my Forbes article. I talk to you all about blocking your boss. And then the second thing I talk about is that I'm happy that Forbes did was the 2% zone comfort trap. If you stay at your company with the same 2% versus getting the 10% increase, you are blocking yourself. So let's go ahead and make these power moves. A powerhouse makes pivots. So excited for you all. If you want to be a next guest, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I welcome those around the globe to join and share their story, because this is really empowering and insightful for so many people. Thank you all so much for tuning